You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and today it is Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. Yesterday we had elections, and some critical elections, one in New York City where Mamdani, the radical leftist rap singer, communist, won the mayoral election in New York. Now, the first thing I got to say about the three elections in which the Democrats won in New Jersey and also in Virginia is that if the Democrats win and run these elections, Democrats are going to win the elections. The cheating is always amazing. Mamdani had, I saw early in the day, although the numbers seemed to drop out as the day went on, that he had 500,000 mail-in ballots, which is about twice as many as his Republican opponent. And of course, the mail-in ballots are where the Democrats cheat. I'm sure they wanted to have enough margin that Mamdani won no matter what. And the Democrats ran the election. In New Jersey, where I vote, I live in New Jersey, I didn't have to have an ID. I walked in, I identified myself. They looked me up in the rolls, and they said that, okay, you live at this address, and you're eligible to vote, so go ahead and vote. But the point is, I could have been anybody. And no IDs checked, no anything checked. It's just, you want to vote, go ahead and vote. This is the problem with the democratic states. Democratic states have no control over whether somebody's a citizen or not a citizen, and they let them go ahead and vote anyway. So Mamdani now is going to be in as the new mayor in New York, which is going to cause immediate problems. I think as soon as he comes in and wants to do any of his policies, which are to protect illegal immigrants, to defund the police, to have no bail for criminals released. If they were apprehended by the police, just let them go. New York is going to become a chaotic city again. It's going to deteriorate further. The economics of it are going to rapidly start collapsing. Many businesses are going to leave New York, and many people are going to leave New York. New York is getting to be extremely expensive and dangerous. And New York is not going to be the same in New York with it. When it gets under this radical democratic control, New York is going to deteriorate pretty fast. And Chris, you want to come on? We might as well have a discussion about this, because I think the Mamdani election is significant in showing that the Democratic Party has embraced this far left, agenda, which is anti-Jewish, it's pro-Palestinian, it's definitely radical Islam and communism combined, which was David Horowitz pointed out that this was really the formula that was fundamental to the Iranian Revolution of Ayatollah Khomeini. Chris?
An interesting side note on this New York City election was the curious endorsement from the leader of a Satmar Hasidic community, which has, I believe, a voting block of, I believe, 60,000 to 80,000. I was reading different reports on that. Endorsing Mamdani. He is pretty much almost proclaimed himself an enemy of Israel. Although the Satmars are kind of, there are different sections of that and factions warring with each other there too. I just found it rather interesting. Also, too, a very prominent Jewish actor, Manny Patinkin, just put himself out there and wholeheartedly endorsed the, I believe he said, excellent or extraordinary person he believes Zohran Mamdani is. The fact is, he is rather controllable because of all the money coming in from, let's just say, out of city sources. He's young and he's power hungry. So this is the kind of guy that the Democrats think they can control, think that they want. And New York City, keep an eye on this. It's a prime example of what the New World Order types are looking at to refresh themselves, test the 15-minute city and congestion pricing ideas out. And Mamdani is the perfect puppet to use as the mayor for this kind of experiment.
Well, Mamdani is going to probably run afoul of Trump within the first 20 minutes of his taking office, because it's certain he's going to do something, provocative right from the start. I mean, that's almost guaranteed. He's not going to come in and, be nice and repudiate everything he ran on. As soon as he starts protecting illegal immigrants, he's going to have committed crimes. And these other two elections, I mean, let's just cover all three of the elections that the Republicans lost. And it to me is amazing. This Democratic Mickey Sherrill won New Jersey, and she's again another woke lefty. And this Abigail Spanberger of Virginia. So, and again, two very, very radical women. They're going to do woke in the schools and everything else that we have. New Jersey and New York are just simply not places to live anymore. The taxes are so high. The politics are, leftist because of the cities. If you took Newark and Elizabeth and others, Patterson, Elizabeth, out of New Jersey, it'd be a very red state. And it's the same in Virginia. If you take the section of Virginia that's close to Washington, D.C., where you've got all the Georgetown coffee shop bureaucrats living, that you would have a very different state in Virginia. Chris?
Oh, agreed on all those points. You want to look a little closer. The Democrats have clearly stated to the rest of the country that they're absolutely okay with a questionably experienced mayor who they just want to pat themselves on the back over saying, "Look what we did. We elected the first Muslim mayor of New York City." Blah blah blah. But they've also told us that they're okay with somebody who was greatly involved in the Annapolis cheating scandal of the 1990s. That was a big one. That was Mickey Sherrill, and of course, Jay Jones is the big factor, the Attorney General winner in Virginia. He's the guy who texted about murdering certain conservatives. I believe the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the State House at that time, or the state legislature, if you will, and murdering his children. Yeah. So these are the kind of people that Democrats are telling you that they love or they really want in office. These are the kind of despicable people they approve
basically
of.
Said, yeah, there he is. Trump basically said that the problem with this election was he was not on the ballot and we were in the middle of the shutdown.
True.
And both of them would suppress Republican votes and would increase the Democratic votes, the turnout. But I think both elections, if we get the numbers and if we can begin to look at them, we're going to find that cheating was rampant. Cheating rampant in the extent of mail-in ballots. That's where I'd look, number one. And number two, whether or not there was any check to see if somebody was a citizen and see how many of these false votes were used, how many of the algorithms were used, and how they were used in these elections. And so therefore, as far as I can see, this is not indicating the country is swinging to the hard left of Democratic sympathy. It's that, this was a election that was really low visibility for most people to go out and vote. It was not a midterm election. It's just an off-year election. And it has some pretty important consequences in terms of the races. But yet it's not a high significance voting event for most people.
Question. Let's look at the positives that came out of this. First off, every one of your liberal friends or virtually all of them are going to brag on social media about how this was a great victory for the Democrats.
Right.
Every victory was a predictable one. Is there a very strong Democrat, let's just say, they're Democrat strongholds. We'll put it that way. New York City always votes Democrat, and the farther the left, the better. So Mamdani was going to win. Cuomo wasn't going to beat him. There was a chance if all the Sliwa voters did that, but enough people don't like Cuomo in New York, too. He's still Svachin Jr. here. New Jersey, Virginia, predictably Democrat. I understand the swing beforehand with Youngkin, but Youngkin was a different case. They're predicted to vote Democrat. Minneapolis, two Democrat frontrunners. There isn't a clear winner yet, but it's between the character that's Gray, the character who kissed George Floyd's coffin, and this Omar Fateh, a radical Muslim, not much unlike, let's say, a little more wild-eyed than even Mamdani. So these were predictable wins. California with Prop 50, predictable win. But let's turn this around. Prop 50 is going to give the green light to Republican states across the country who want to fairly redistrict their congressional voting blocks or their
Well,
congressional.
I think there's
Either
going to
way.
be a lot
Yeah,
of redistricting once the Supreme Court rules that you can't use race
right,
to determine politics. And,
right.
this is the Democrats again twisting what Martin Luther King was all about. Martin Luther King wanted equal rights, and Democrats made that into, you had to have compensating, advantages to minorities in order to redress the past problems.
Now,
And so now you got race preference, and now you're using race as a basis for discrimination.
so the
And
next
that,
question
yeah.
though for you, and I want to give this to you. Could this also have a positive effect? Watching what New York City, or how far of a downward spiral in the first year New York City could go. This could be positive for Republicans in the 2026 midterms, and of course the New York City governorship.
Well, it all depends upon whether or not President Trump gets a new executive order demanding changes, fundamental changes in the voting in the United States. As long as we have the machines, as long as we have the Democrats running things, and as long as we have, open registration and wide mail-in balloting to anybody who wants a mail-in ballot, they just mail them out, and you can send them as many in as you get, in the mail. As long as these things are still there, Democrats are going to continue to win elections, because the Democrats can only win cheating, stealing, lying. It's the only way they can win.
Yeah. That the also I do remember you mentioning the mail-in ballots were very heavy when it comes to Zohran Mamdani.
Yes.
Kathy Hochul is here in New York is trying her damnedest to circumvent a rule put together a while back, demanding that congressional districts are set up in such a way that race wouldn't be a factor, or let's just say you can't gerrymander like they used to do back in the old days. So she's trying to overturn that. Uh, what we're going to see from this election are, like you said, a lot of ripple effects towards election integrity. And I believe this the outcomes here may be negative at first, but they're going to wind up being positives in the long run. Because
Except that we're stuck with these Democrats running
yes, we
things
are.
again.
Well, look what's happening in Britain. That's the other thing.
Yeah. I
If
mean,
you want to look at the British election, the people said, screw the Conservatives. They're Labour light. A lot of them voted Reform, but not enough did. Labour's in for 5 years. They're doing what they can, but they're showing the world how poorly they're running a country.
well, again, they're in power.
Right.
And so therefore, that's what the Democrat left wants. It wants power.
Double-edged sword.
And they don't care whether they have to steal it or they have to lie to get it or whatever. They want power. And so therefore they want to, they're the front runners for the trans globalist elite that want ultimately to be the few that rule the world while the rest of us are worthless. The Harari formula. But the point is, I think fundamentally Americans are beginning to catch on to this. And fundamentally, Americans are not going along with this agenda. Even though the Democrats can win some of these elections, especially in off years, especially when they control the election process, and especially when there's no fundamental reforms the Democrats are going to implement. Democrats are not going to get rid of, aliens voting, illegal aliens. They're not going to stop wanting to give food stamps and Medicare and all the other benefits to illegal immigrants. They don't care. That's their voters. They want voters who want to destroy America or want their share of America by whether it's cheating, lying, stealing, or whatever, get it and bankrupt America. We're already, we're approaching $40 trillion in national debt, and no one seems to care.
It's this is the this is a point where this nation could either implode upon itself, thanks to all that's being installed into office, at least on these levels, or at least from yesterday moving forward, or a time where voters can wise up. People here can wise up and say, this is not the direction we need to go, and we have to reverse this. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a generation, possibly even 2 generations, to reverse course.
It's going to be difficult because there's so much entrenched insanity right now. And the universities are all pro-Palestinian. They are all anti-Jewish. They are all woke. They're all communists. They're penetrated by all of this, transhumanism and this globalism. It's going to be very difficult. And I'm sure they still believe in climate change,
Oh,
despite despite all of the material and everything that is out of what a scam that is. And so the two books I've written that try to turn this back, the truth about energy, global warming, and climate change is still done very well. If you'll show that cover, Chris, I'd appreciate it. And the other one is the truth about neo-Marxism, cultural Maoism, and anarchy. And these books explain how, in fact, what we're dealing with the radical left is not truth, but narratives which are designed to be very powerful psychologically, and they're designed to destroy capitalism and destroy our productivity and our wealth. And they're good at it. There's the truth about energy, global warming, and climate change. And it did extremely well, was very, very well received, very well reviewed. And this is the truth about neo-Marxism, cultural Maoism, and anarchy. It's part of a trilogy, which I'm calling the Great Awakening trilogy. I have yet to write the third book, which will be the truth about transhumanism, artificial intelligence, and perpetual life extension, which is what the crazy left thinks that they can do. Okay, I want to switch a couple topics here. There's some other things developing that are going to not be covered to the extent they should be today, but there's a report out in discernreport.com. Michael Snyder is writing that Russia is now saying that they will give their caliber cruise missiles capable of carrying nuclear warheads to Venezuela, while the United States is considering sending Tomahawk cruise missiles, also capable of carrying nuclear warheads, to Ukraine. And meanwhile, the Middle East is on the verge of being destabilized because Hezbollah is being rearmed in Lebanon. Now, if Russia sends all these most advanced hypersonic missiles to Venezuela, what it indicates is what I've been saying is I think we've got to understand that Putin thinks he can win a nuclear war, and I think Putin thinks he can beat the United States in Ukraine in a conventional war. And I don't think I don't think the United States government, I don't think Trump has really fully understood that Putin has been saying that he has superior weaponry, which means I think Putin believes he might have first strike capability. First strike capability is the ability to have a nuclear strike on the United States, which we cannot respond. It's either too fast, or we didn't get the right information, or our systems didn't work. But one way or the other, superior weaponry in Russia is key to first strike capability. Okay, now if Russia does supply Venezuela, which is Russia's been one of the key military technical partners for Venezuela, it's going to up that ante there, because we are preparing, it looks like, to invade Venezuela, and we're continuing to knock out these drug-running ships, which are bringing cocaine and other drugs into the United States. Now, the Democrats, of course, support the gun running, the drug running. The Democrats support the Venezuelan criminals and the El Salvadorian gangs, the Maras. The Democrats support all the illegal immigrants. They want to make sure they protect them and round them up in sanctuary cities. The whole idea here of the Democratic push to destroy America is the theme of my books, both these two books about the truth about energy, global warming, and climate change, and the truth about neo-Marxism, cultural Maoism, and anarchy, is that the left Democratic Party went communist a while ago. Now it's radically anti-American, treasonous, and talking about murder. Chris, have you seen these wine moms on TikTok? These women who are, I guess middle-aged white women who are railing against whites.
They're all over the place.
What is going on?
It is, look, it's fashionable for very sheltered white women, white liberal women to virtue signal, because really, what do they do? What contributions do they actually make to society off of maybe the grand shopping thoroughfares in the major cities or their local areas? Maybe the wine bar, that's about it, or the country club. That's all. They don't do anything else. So they feel like they're doing something good for other people because that's how they were raised, by voting liberal.
So this one wine mom was saying that I was railing against white men, and she was saying that if a white man opposes illegal immigration, why would you go into a Mexican restaurant? Well, I mean, aren't there legal Hispanics here who have Mexican restaurants? I mean, so you wouldn't go into an Indian restaurant, or you wouldn't go into this kind of restaurant or that kind of restaurant. You know, and she was just going on and on and on. Some of it got incoherent. I mean, she started getting so rambling, I couldn't even figure out what she was saying.
Well, they basically are telling you how the left thinks and what they think of minorities. They call us the racists, but these are the people that think very little of those who come from other countries or those who are of minority races.
Yeah,
They,
she was mad because she lost her housekeeper, I believe.
right, and she's angry. Well, she's telling us that she believes anybody who runs or works in a Mexican restaurant is an illegal immigrant. That's what she's telling you. She's telling you exactly what she thinks Donald Trump thinks. But that's what she thinks. You think?
Yeah, I mean, it's another phenomenon that is insane. And all these people supporting these Democratic governors, when their states go bankrupt and the crime rates go up and the cities aren't safe, and you got mobs of teenagers running through the cities, rampaging and stealing and destroying downtown areas, and these people are all just going to say that's all just fine. I think that we're in for whether we're preparing for a civil war or not, I don't know, but certainly the divisions in society between these insane Democrats living in the cities and the rest of the nation, which wants basically to get back to work and have normal families and normal values. These women are nuts. I mean, I'm beginning to think, the outcome of the feminist movement, Phyllis Schlafly was right, would be radical women who don't think they have any value unless they are working at a job. They're not interested in being mothers. They're not interested in traditional values for women. They want to compete with men, and so therefore they get in marriages. And my 32-year marriage, my wife has an affair and divorces me because she didn't like politics anymore. Doesn't feel fulfilled, or whatever the issue is. But the point is that the Democrats' mentality and their ideology and it just doesn't work. It's dysfunctional. It's intended to be dysfunctional, yet they celebrate their dysfunction. They want to celebrate gay pride parades, which are sacrilegious in their, what they execute. And if you ever go watch a gay pride parade. Have you ever seen one, Chris?
I actually have seen a few. Back in the day, now I'm old. I'm going to tell people how old I am. Back in the day, the gay pride parade was a bunch of people who just said, "Hey, look at me, I'm gay. It's Halloween. I'm dressed up in a mask, blah, blah, blah." We all go home. They go to their bars and everybody's fine. Now you have parents that bring their children to these things.
Right. With the whips and chains and the crucifixes and the sacrilegious.
Some of them are children dressed up in drag. It's different now. It's a bold recruitment, and it's just a bold display of deviance rather than a bunch of people saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm gay and that's just me."
It's a celebration of deviance.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, I'm a to each his own person, but when it comes to bringing kids in and involving children and trying to recruit children, that's where the line has to be drawn. It has to be. It's disgusting after a while. We don't need drag queens to read stories to children. How about when we were kids, the librarian or the teacher would read stories to children?
I remember. It's unbelievable to me. It's just insane world with these, and then they hate Donald Trump. That Donald Trump is, they have no idea who Donald Trump really is, but they hate him.
Well, you combine the fact that this isn't new because every Republican is a racist Nazi, according to the Democrats. Remember, Bush is a racist. Mitt Romney is Hitler. Mitt Romney is the most milquetoast conservative you can think of, but he's Hitler, according to them, in 2012 because he ran against the sacred cow. Donald Trump ran against the sacred cow, handily defeated her, and these people, these wine moms and all these wacky liberals will never let him forget it. These are also the same people who watch soap operas and think the evil actors are the same people that they play in real life. So they can't separate the gruff persona or the harsh persona of Donald Trump during The Apprentice. They can't separate that with real life and his policies. They can't. There's no ability there.
We've got other things going on, which I think are also going to be extremely important, but yet not reaching the level of national debate entirely. So what you find here is Robert Kennedy Jr. is now calling for the ban on mercury in vaccines, which will be a very good idea. We have autism, which is at record highs, and we're vaccinating children way beyond anything that's required. It's dangerous. And medicine is aiming to kill people these days, not to heal people. And Germany dodges Russia's offer on non-aggression guarantee for NATO, etc. Trump is not going to give the Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. He backed off on that. And, basically Russia last week offered to cement its disinterest in invading Europe by entering into a formal non-aggression pact with European Union and NATO states, but Germany said no, they were not interested in such a treaty. Germany would rather still have Lazarov and Putin as boogeymen to oppose. The European Union has got to understand that while Russia may want this area of the Donbass and may push for it, that in fact if they get the Donbass completely under Russian control, the march to Kiev is not going to be very difficult. And so therefore, Ukraine is losing this war, and the troops are basically they're fleeing the battlefield, AWOL, and the war is lost to Ukraine. Ukraine's lost this war. There's no way that you're going to take back the territory that Russia has without there being a nuclear war, including Crimea, which Obama gave away to Putin, did nothing to stop it. Obama was basically, and I maintained this all along, Obama was the one who were in collusion with Putin. It wasn't Trump. Putin had plenty of blackmail material on Obama, and he used it. Okay, so the point is that, we've demonized Putin, we've demonized Russia in this war, and it's all again, Democratic propaganda coming out of the State Department, George Soros, Victoria Nuland, and others who hate Russia as Democrats. Democrats loved Russia in 1917 when it was communist, but the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Democrats decided they don't like Russia so much anymore. They want to go to war with Russia, which is ridiculous. And last thing I want to cover today is the economy. Gold just slipped just below $4,000 an ounce, but that won't last. It'll be back over 4,000 pretty quickly. And please do take a look at Swiss America. If you click on our new website, we revised Corsi Nation, so the gold tab is there clearly. And if you click that, as Chris will show you, you get this Walking Liberty $50 offer. You get a first-time customer, you get up to 250 of these coins. They're about 99.99% silver, and they're real worth. If you want to collect silver, it's only $50 an ounce, compared to gold, which is at $4,000 an ounce. And you're going to see a doubling of silver quicker than you're going to see gold going to $8,000 an ounce. So you can get 250 of these coins by talking with Swiss America. Fill out the form on the website, and you'll be able to get the coins. God's Five Stones has also been revamped. That's G-O-D, no apostrophe S, spell out the word five, F-I-V-E. Stones is plural, gods5stones.com. It's the David and Goliath story. David picks 5 smooth stones from a brook, the right 5 stones, to go after Goliath. And that's what we're trying to do. We're looking at Act Blue and its corruption. We're looking at the child sex trade, the child organ harvesting, the Obama coup d'etat. We're going to start pressing for much more getting out this new executive order from Donald Trump in order to make sure we get fair elections in the midterm elections. If we don't, we're going to have the Democrats take over Congress, and the Democrats will be determined again to have 2 more years of trying to get Donald Trump impeached. All the things they did in New York between when Donald Trump was out of office will be done again in the House and Senate to try to get rid of Donald Trump in his last 2 years. It's imperative that we have a free and controlled election in 2026. And I believe Donald Trump's going to increase the number of troops that are going into the cities. And if necessary, Donald Trump, I believe, should and will order an executive order under Article 2, powers of commander-in-chief, and say that the military will run the elections in 2026 if necessary, because China and other countries have penetrated the computers. We've got to go to proof of voter ID, proof of citizenship, eliminate the general mail-in ballots, go back to limited absentee ballots, and get rid of the machines and counting and tabulating and registering votes. We do these things, we have a chance to get a fair election. But as we pointed out, when the algorithms in these states have millions and millions of false records that are created and able to be hidden but voted in mail-in ballot schemes when needed because they get legitimate state IDs even though the person doesn't exist. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. Today it's Wednesday. It's November 5th, 2025. We're reacting to the elections in 3 states. We now have a radical Islamic Marxist mayor of New York City, and we've got governors in both New Jersey and Virginia that are women who are hard left, woke. So we're entering into another era of politics in which the Democratic Party, which is greatly diminished, can still, if they run elections, they can still win elections because they know how to manipulate elections. In the end, God always wins. God's going to win here too. Join me in 2 Chronicles 7:14. We've got to kneel and ask God to forgive us for letting the country get to this point. God will hear our prayer and heal our land if enough of us take this biblical advice and come to terms with our own responsibility for having taken God out of our lives, out of our public square, out of our marriages. So many abortions since Roe v. Wade, all of the affront to children, sex issues, which is appalling. These are very disturbing. But in the end, God always wins, and God will win here too. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. We're doing podcasts on CorsiNation.com every weekday. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless.